Hi everyone, it's Rich Schefren here, and I have Pete Williams, and this has been in the making for literally months.
Absolutely.
Almost, I don't know if it's been a year, but
close to it, I'd say.
Close to it.
Absolutely.
And I want to share with everyone right now why I have been on a desperate pursuit for years to find really Pete, but I didn't know that it was Pete. I was just looking for this person. And when I first got involved in internet marketing, one of the things I noticed is that no one was being strategic. No one was really thinking through how do they get maximum leverage? How do they figure out what they're good at and then build the business around that so that they can create value, so that they have an easy way to deliver outstanding value to their customers, their clients, so that they actually can build a business. In order to do that, you have to think everything through before getting started. What niche you're going to be in? Is it a good match for you? Where's the sweet spot in your niche? What are you going to offer that creates value? And all of that thinking, for many people, takes a considerable amount of time. And because of that, I always felt like the strategic approach was at a loss, in the sense that people who took this approach might not get any instant win, right? Like, you know, it's kind of like when people first got interested in Twitter. They could have this like sense of gratification because they got like 500 followers. Those 500 followers might never buy anything, but they felt like they were accomplishing something. And when you're strategic, you don't get that.
There's no instant feedback.
Exactly. And so I've been on the lookout ever since I started to find someone that could take the tactics of internet marketing and simplify them, to streamline them, and to really identify the shortcuts so that you could be strategic, and then once you have your strategy in place, immediately jump in and begin making money and do what you love. And it wasn't until I met you, and we're going to tell the story of how we met in a little bit, but it wasn't until I met Pete that I really had found the chocolate to my peanut butter, the missing ingredient. You said you liked that, so I wanted to say it. It wasn't until this, and that's why I so desperately wanted to share it with every single client that we've ever had. Because as a client of mine, you have at least endorsed through your wallet that you want to be strategic, that you realize there's value in understanding what your end game is, and then figuring out what's the easiest, fastest, most certain way to get that outcome. But along those lines, if you don't do the right tactics, if you don't execute them the right way, you tend to get stuck. And so the reason why Pete is here right now, the reason why we're doing this web stream in our office, is because I believe that once you have what Pete is going to share with you tonight, you will be in a place where it's going to be very, very difficult to fail. And all of this is in exact alignment with this concept. And the concept is this, is that you right now are spending way too much time doing certain tactics, if you're even doing them. That odds are is that because they take the time that they take, because they might not be as simplified as they can be, that you might not even be doing them. You know that deep down, if you did them, your business would grow. If you did them consistently, your business would grow even more, right?
Absolutely.
But you're not. Or you're not doing it as consistently as you could, or you're in front of your computer 24/7, or at least it feels that way. And we want to show you a way, and this is Pete's teachings, that give you a way of getting it all done in a matter of minutes. And that might be 60 minutes, 90 minutes, what have you, but it's just taking what seems like 20 hours of work and reducing it down to 90 minutes of work.
Absolutely.
And so here's the final thing that I want to share with you, and then I want to hand it off to you so you can just give people even an added context of what they're going to be learning.
Sure.
But when I first got online, one of the things that I felt was very different from online than offline was that in my offline businesses, when I went to bed every night and put my head on the pillow, I felt that I had done everything that I could do, or that I had my team do everything that could be done to grow my business. When I got online, that changed, and as the number of angles, the number of channels, the number of marketing opportunities exist. What has happened is that the majority of people, myself included, we hit our head on the pillow thinking about all the other things that we could have done that day. And that sucks, especially when you're not making the kind of money you want to make. Yep. If you're going to bed thinking about all the things you could have done to make more, it's not a recipe for a good night's sleep.
Not at all.
So what we're going to show you is a way so that when your head hits the pillow, you've had everything done. And not only that, you're going to be more efficient with the things that you're already doing, and you're also going to be making sure that you're doing the right things. Hi everyone, Rich Schefren here with Pete Williams.
Hi.
And what you just saw was the first unveiling of Profit Hacks. You see, we did a private live stream for our high-end clients, primarily because we've heard for far too long that far too many of them, whether they're raw rookies or seasoned veterans, were overloaded, overwhelmed, confused, uncertain, and primarily frustrated. Frustrated with the fact that when their head hit the pillow at night, they knew they could be doing more. Yeah. And as I said, that is not a good feeling to have when you're not happy with the money you're making, with the progress you're making, or the growth of your business. And this problem is only getting worse. And it's getting worse because as more and more money is being made online, there's more competition. Yeah. And more competition drives this need to be in more places, to do more things, to have more mediums as far as audio, video, and all these things. Yeah. And it's just so much to do to get done, to make that money, to grow that business, and it's only, like I said, getting worse.
And you wrote about this in your manifesto a while ago.
Yeah, I wrote about it 7 years ago. And back then, I was telling the internet marketing world, you needed to be strategic. And that was enough. You could whittle it down to just a few things, and if you did them well enough, you could actually grow a business, right? Yeah. When I wrote that report, all I needed to do was write that report. Nowadays, if that was all that was there and there was not any videos on YouTube, I wasn't on Facebook, I wasn't on all these other places, people would be, well, who is this guy? Is he for real, right? So now you need to have all these things. And I think we did a good job of explaining it on that same live stream for clients, so let's have a look. All right, so if you're looking at the screen right now, this is the infamous U diagram. And I can tell you that I've had graphics on the front of every report that I've ever written. But this graphic alone has made me more money than any graphic that I've ever created. Now, it's not the graphic that I have spent the most time on. It's certainly not the graphic that I think is the most intelligent.
Did you pick the pink color?
No, what I did was that I had a PowerPoint person who was working for me at the time, and I had to create a presentation, and I told them what I wanted. I said, like, I want to show people a example of all the things that they need to do, and here's the list. And I want it to feel somewhat overwhelming. I want people to see the ridiculousness of their situation.
Definitely overwhelming.
Yeah. The truth is, though, is that this was done in 2006. So as you look at it, I really want you to think about what has been added to internet marketing since 2006. That there was no social media then.
That's the first thing I saw.
Blogging was just like, it was the beginnings, right? There was no iTunes, there was no podcasting, there was no
YouTube videos.
Nothing. It wasn't a big thing. So there were all these things that are currently not even on that diagram. And not only that, but that the overall competitive environment has gotten a lot more complex, right? So back when I created the U diagram, my argument was, if you're strategic, you don't have to do all those things first of all. The things you have to do, you should create systems for. And that you should figure out what your time's worth, so you figure out what you should be doing on that and what you shouldn't be doing on that.
Yep.
But it was my belief back then that you didn't need to do 15 different ways of marketing. You just needed to do one way and excel at that, right?
Really well.
And that was my experience, because at that time I was writing reports. Yep. And every report made me millions of dollars, right? Some made me 8 figures, the majority made me 7 figures. But I got really good at that, right? Today is a different day.
Yeah, different beast.
Yeah, and there is so much more competition that you have to do. You have to have a presence on Facebook.
Have to be in Facebook, have to be in Twitter, have to be doing YouTube, have to be blogging, podcasting's great.
Or you're suspect,
yep.
right? And so then the question is, how can you do all that? how can you get it all done in a way where you don't feel like pulling out your hair, crawling under your desk, and assuming the fetal position, right? And so the way you do that is that you figure out shortcuts. You figure out ways where you can create one thing, and that one thing explodes onto the U diagram and covers 20 things, right? So that U diagram could be compressed to 4 or 5 elements, right, that you're doing. And then others, people that are being paid a lot less than what you want to make per hour, are taking those things and filling out the rest of the diagram. And so I wanted to put that up there primarily because as a client of mine, I would imagine that you've seen the U diagram and that it probably resonated with you in a way that called out to you that that's the frustration that I'm feeling. And back in 2006, back to 2009, 2010, all you needed to do was be strategic to overcome that. It's my belief now that you have to be more than strategic. You not only have to be strategic, but you have to be strategic in the way that you approach the tactics that you use to run the engine of your business. So, anything you want to add to that?
I was going to say, on that strategery, we'll make up a word tonight, on the strategery of that, if you don't have some sort of plan, then when you're with Twitter or YouTube, you kind of get lost. And it's like coming back to that overwhelm thing again, or unclear of how to do that. So you have that strategy set in place, then you know exactly how to actually implement that, have the tactics to really push that as far as you need to go to make the money you need to make.
All right, so I think there's a new U diagram that they made. Is that correct, guys? There's a new U diagram? So that's it. And it can be as simple as that. You create content, you figure out basically the ways that you want that content consumed, you repurpose that content in multiple different channels, and then you use outsourcing to really cover so many of the areas. And this is what I challenged Pete to demonstrate for the entire world last week on a 6-hour web stream, showing how you can take that concept, those 4 different areas, and break them down to actually show you exactly how Pete can do it all. Grow a business, do a week's worth of work in just 6 hours, which actually was less than 6 hours, it was only 4 hours. And here's a little bit more detail about that from last week's web stream. So we have this flipboard over here, and I'm going to want to move over to this flipboard for a second, and I think we'll kind of put it in 2, right? And you have quite a few businesses, but what we really are going to focus on today is
online stuff.
The online business, just like many people out there have an online business. So if we were to say that like this is your online business, whether it's your business or their business, right? This is the online biz. And you know, that's your website, right? Now, a website by itself is rather like a lonely place, right? Like there's not much action just by putting up a website. You got to do a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
To make sales, to make things happen. And not only do you have to do a lot of stuff to make things happen, but if you do it the right way, and you do the right things, and you do it consistently enough, you build momentum, right? Like the stuff that you do this week will help you this week, but it also helps you next week, and the following week, and the following week. And then if the following week you're also doing more,
it just grows, doesn't it?
It grows, and so you build this exponential amount of momentum that really carries your business forward, that really ultimately has everything that you do stack upon itself, so that over time, your business creates this incredible momentum that you'd actually have to work against, right, to slow it down. And so in order to do that, we're going to show a bunch of different tactics, right, and how you've kind of bridged them all together so that anyone could do the same.
Absolutely.
Right? So why don't you just like, we'll talk about some of the ways, right, that we're going to cover that you can do to promote your online business the way you promote your online business.
Sounds good.
All right, so what should we say is first here?
Well, obviously, you know, people know about traffic generation. So things like, you know, YouTube is a great way to actually drive traffic to a website. So putting out YouTube videos. Obviously, blogging's, you know, I guess a real core element that everyone sort of gets taught to do is actually consistently blog on your website, because the more you blog.
And what about guest blogging?
Guest blogging, yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea. So getting your articles featured on other people's blogs and their platform and getting in front of their audiences. Backlinking for SEO, that's a big thing that people need to do, obviously, to grow their business, is doing the SEO and getting backlinks regularly. And guest blogging is one way of doing that. But